Hello everyone, welcome to Blocking Key. Today is September 4th, 2019, and there's a few things I'd like to go through today. I'd like to discuss the Bakkt launch that's set to launch on September 23rd later this month. Also, we have an ETF-like product being launched by VanEck SolidX. I believe it starts tomorrow. So we'll touch upon a bit of that, and I'd also like to apologize for not doing a video last week, but with the long weekend and that coming up, I decided to take some time off. There's a few other things I'd like to go through, which I'm sure you have heard of, with the Bank of England, Governor Mark Carney wishing to possibly introduce a Libre-like cryptocurrency, and a lot more to talk about, and also the state of the economy, and if you should be worried about a recession and what Bitcoin may do if that indeed does occur. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. So yesterday, VanEck, there's an article here, VanEck and SolidX to offer an ETF-like Bitcoin product to large investors. Now, most of this has already been well reported, but this is set to occur tomorrow, September 5th, I believe. And it says the company said in a statement on Tuesday that using a Rule 144A, to my understanding, it's like a workaround to get around the SEC, they'll be able to issue shares in the VanEck SolidX Bitcoin Trust to qualified institutional investors. So this will not be available to the retail investors such as you and I. And it seems to me it looks a lot like the GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So is this an actual ETF? They're calling it that. Either way, I still think it's bullish for the market. The institutional players will come into this space. Well, it's going to crash the price of Bitcoin. Who knows? Long term, it's still a bullish indicator. Now, Bakkt is expected to launch later this month on the 23rd of September. Right now, their customers will be able to start making deposits this Friday into their warehouse. A lot of people have concerns that this launch is going to be similar to the CME back in 2017. And I can see that as being a valid argument. Whether or not that's actually going to take place, I don't think anybody really knows. I'm expecting a modest blip. I don't think it's going to affect the market too much. If the Bitcoin price crashes anywhere from here until then, it'll probably do so relatively soon. So there's that happening as well. Long term, I'm not looking at doing anything with selling my Bitcoin or acquiring any more just yet, because I'm still expecting the price to come down quite a bit as we fall through the rest of this month. As when I was doing some of my earlier videos in the year, I had expected the Bitcoin price to roll over going into June. I was off by about a month. It really didn't start to roll over hard till July, as you can see here in the chart. My price target was off as well. I wasn't expecting it to go this high, but as the trend still kind of indicates here that we are rolling over and heading down as we're approaching into the fourth quarter. Where the price is going to be, I'm not sure. I'm still looking at around September, end of September. We get into October, will probably be my last buy entry. And just as a disclaimer, this isn't financial advice in any way, shape, or form. These are just my own opinions. But the cycle seems to suggest that between the September, October, wherever the bounce may be, whether it's down here around the 7,500, 7,000, we'll be going back down to all-time lows. I don't believe so at all. It would be nice. But I'm going to be looking to probably make my last purchase for the year, purchases, I should say, probably sometime around the end of September, October, depending on what it does. As we get through, once we get into November, you have to understand that we're about 6 months to the halving. Some people are calling for a massive drop in the Bitcoin price, and we're going to, maybe move sideways or trend in a range. I'm not too sure. History always shows, since Bitcoin's launch, that 6 months prior to the halving, is usually on an ascent. Bitcoin is usually ascending into the halving, and then you have another big dump. This time, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised March-ish, around March, April, you may actually see everything priced in before in a drop. Now that you have futures markets, CME, SIA, and Grayscale Trust, there's a lot more market participants, and I could see them maybe selling the rally prior to the halving. But again, this is just my own opinions. Again, not financial advice. But right around here, September, October, I'll probably be done. And then I'm just going to ride the wave. I'm, by the end of 2020, definitely all-time highs. End of the year, I'll be happy if it's 8 to 10K. Now, getting back to what happened a few weeks back, the Libre currency from Facebook's plans was registered in Switzerland. Now it looks like the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney is talking about doing something similar for central banks globally. It says here, Mark Carney laid out a radical proposal for an overhaul of the global financial system that would eventually replace the US dollar as a reserve currency with a Libre-like virtual one. A lot of people are suggesting that Facebook isn't going to be successful at this. And I think this is just a lot of smoke and mirrors. I believe Facebook is going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. There's a reason why they registered in Switzerland. For the financial centers of the world, the Bank for International Settlements is located in Switzerland. The BIS is the central bank of central banks. They're a major player when it comes to global finance. So I would not be surprised if Facebook is indeed probably working on it as we speak, working in conjunction with central banks. Because the Libre currency, it's not a cryptocurrency, it's a digital currency. And what I believe they're going to try to do is mix a basket with special drawing rights. So this is a proposal that's done through the IMF, where they're going to have a weighted basket of currencies, which I'm sure you've heard before other people report. So something like this will go through. Will Facebook be successful in launching this in the beginning of the year? I'm not sure on the timing on that, but I still think that this backlash that they're getting, that you're seeing from their politicians on the television and in the news, it's just smoke and mirrors. Libre-like currency is coming, and Facebook will be involved. Now, with regards to the global economy, there's been a lot of recession talk. A lot of people have been talking about a recession, like the recession is imminent, which I don't believe. I do not believe at all that Donald Trump and the current state of affairs in the United States are going to allow a recession to ensue before the election next year. So about a year's time, once we really start getting into the 2020 US presidential election. That doesn't mean that there still isn't things that you should be aware of. Now this article is from August 14th, and this is from USA Today, and how most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And it says here, the average American is struggling to make ends meet each month, with 59% of US adults saying they live paycheck to paycheck, according to a recent survey from Charles Schwab. Only 38% of people have an emergency fund, and 1 in 5 Americans don't have a dime saved for retirement, which is a stunning figures. 59% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And this isn't just an American phenomenon. This is happening in Canada. Now, this article is from April of this year in Canada, and its title is Maxed Out, 48% of Canadians on the Brink of Insolvency. And this is from B&M Bloomberg. The number of Canadians who are $200, which is not a lot, or less away from financial insolvency every month has climbed to 48%, up from 46% in the previous quarter. So the economy is definitely slowing down at a rapid pace. Are we going to see anything happen, any fireworks happen this fall? Potentially. If the stock markets do take a massive dump, with everything that's happening, with all the negative interest rates, corporate buybacks, they're just going to print money. The central banks are going to print money. The US Federal Reserve will cut rates. and they'll just engage in quantitative easing, even if they don't call it quantitative easing. Also in this article, despite the uncertainty in the economy, many Canadians continue to add to their debt loads. The MNP survey found that about 4 in 10 respondents said that they won't be able to cover all living and family expenses in the next 12 months without taking on more debt. So this is from April of this year. So things aren't looking too bright for the global economy. This has been reported as well, some other crypto channels, but it's the surge in corporate debt. So one of my previous videos, I think it was my last one, I talked about there's 13 trillion negative yielding government bonds globally. I believe that number is now up from the end of July to over 17 trillion. And as of August 21st, 2019, corporate debt has reached an astonishing 1 trillion negative yielding debt. It's just insane. Negative yielding corporate debt is a relatively new thing, rising from just 20 billion in January to pass the 1 trillion mark recently, according to Jim Bianco, founder of Bianco Research. So if we look at this chart, look at the start of the year in January 2019. It was at about $20 billion. Look at this parabolic rise. People think Bitcoin has gone on a parabolic rise. Well, in my opinion, Bitcoin, precious metals, gold, silver, these things are starting to do account of what is happening here. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this. Negative yielding bonds, corporate bonds, which means you purchase a corporate bond, you're guaranteed to get back less than what you put in. It's astounding, just astounding. And another one that's it's been in the news lately, this has just happened recently. Argentina imposes currency controls to support their economy. So Argentina is on the verge of default again to the IMF and to their creditors for their debt. So now Argentina is imposing capital controls on their citizens and businesses. Again, to me, this is very bullish for Bitcoin in the long term. Argentina has imposed currency controls in an attempt to stabilize markets as the country faces a deepening financial crisis. Will Argentina get as bad as Venezuela? I'm not sure about that. I think it's a little bit in better shape than Venezuela, but still, the inflation that's hitting these people, or people that are holding these currencies, it's very, very sad. Argentina is also seeking to defer debt payments to the IMF to deal with the crisis. And you can see they're constantly defaulting. They're a repeat offender, and people panic, and people, their purchasing power devalues tremendously. But they'll just print more money, they'll just take on more debt, and the bubbles just keep getting bigger. So am I expecting a recession to be imminent? No. Once we get into 2021, that might be a whole other ballgame. But right now, the answer is no. But now you need 60 pesos to buy $1 US. So when you look at this chart back in 2018, just look at this. 60 pesos. Whereas, you're back at what, 15, 16 back in 2018? So this currency is just heading the way, like most fiat currencies, they're just pure garbage. So with all the macro indicators that are happening around the world, with the Hong Kong protests, you have Brexit, which doesn't look like it's going to happen now. They're trying to extend it till January now. Again, democracy, your government's democracy hard at work there for you. It's been 3 years. They voted no and wanted to leave the EU, but they just keep playing these games. Again, I don't know why people have any faith in government. It's obvious that your voice does not matter or count. You can vote all you wish. It doesn't matter. It's an oligarchy. These people are in control and they'll do as they please. And you have the Bakkt ready to launch, ETF-like product, which I wouldn't put too much emphasis on. But Bakkt is going to be a big deal because it's physically backed Bitcoin futures, which you can then take physical delivery. One of the reasons why gold and silver were able to be suppressed for so long, so many years now, was because most people weren't able to take physical delivery. With Bitcoin, this is going to be a real game changer because large players, institutions, and wealthy individuals will be able to take physical delivery. And I don't believe Bitcoin is going to be made illegal. The rich really run this system and the world, and I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to want Bitcoin. Maybe not so much your alternative coins, and I don't really see them having any real value. Litecoin has been getting a bad rap. They say it's going down. However, I do like the idea of Litecoin, and they're apparently working on some privacy issues. I can't see Bitcoin incorporating those because a hard fork would need to be initiated, which I don't think the community would tolerate. However, one topic I haven't heard too many people discuss is what happens if Litecoin does do a hard fork, implements Mimblewimble, but yet you can still do atomic swaps with Bitcoin. Now that's very bullish indicator. So for fungible reasons with your money, if you want fungibility, you'll be able to use Litecoin. And as your store of value, your safe haven as Bitcoin, you could simply do an atomic swap. Now, I'm not a developer. I'm not exactly sure how that process will be implemented. But if there is any altcoin, again, not financial advice, I think the only one I'd be looking at buying once everything bottoms out is probably Litecoin. Is the only currency out there that next to Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, that I would consider myself getting into. So like I said, this will probably be the last video I do on markets and economy, unless something really big happens. Come September, October, things should be very bullish as we get into 2020 for Bitcoin. Some of the alternative coins, I don't see much hope for them, except for maybe Litecoin and a few others, but Bitcoin is where I'm putting my money, and again, not financial advice. But it's going to be an interesting year. If I do more videos, I want to focus more on the technical aspect of Bitcoin, because the price is really irrespective of what Bitcoin is and how it can free human beings from a lot of this manipulation and corruption that's done by governments and central banks. It's an unconfiscatable asset that allows you to retain your financial sovereignty. And I don't see it going away anytime soon. And even if it did crash back to all-time lows, from the last bear market of 3,000, I still will hold on to it just because of the freedom and the liberty it provides to me. And all I need is a plane ticket to go to another country that recognizes it as legal tender and does not tax it. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a great week. And in the meantime, take care. Cheers.